What is up, you guys? Teller checking in for the recap of UFC Vegas 82. Brendan Allen reigns supreme over Paul Craig and is really making some noise in this division now. I'm going to tell you what I think should be next for him as we get to the top of this recap. You guys know how we do it here. We start at the bottom, work our way up towards the top, and we recap the bets that we targeted. It was a little bit of a rough day in the office, but just two plays were targeted, so not a lot of action out, so it wasn't really disastrous, but I'll let you guys know how I did. In the first fight, Rafael Estevam gets the unanimous decision over Charles Johnson, really relying heavily on that grappling to take those first two rounds. And then Charles Johnson had a lot of success in the third round, but it was a little too late. And Estevam, as we talked about, I felt that he had that grappling edge and that he has underrated offensive wrestling, to get the fight down to the mat, to use that jiu-jitsu. And he will give guys problems. He will give fighters problems that don't have sharp takedown defense. Although he needs to work on his overall skill set, needs to work on his cardio and whatnot. Even though I don't know if it was necessarily that he has bad cardio, because when you're pushing the pace with the takedowns and whatnot, it will catch up to you. We'll see what's next for him. He's a good addition to the division. Trey Ogen gets robbed by the referee here as he was in complete control of the fight over Nicholas Mota. We know that Trey was the slight underdog. I picked him here. Was very close to putting official action on him, which I was kicking myself that I didn't as the fight was taking place. All in all, it wouldn't have mattered though, because he gets robbed of the victory there. So that was horrible for him. Aileen Perez, she looked good out there, man. She was much more powerful, stronger than Putty Lova, was in complete control of the fight. I told you guys she's been prone to clap those cheeks in the cage as she gets the W. You saw her feet up on the top of the cage, doing all types of moves as they zoomed in on her son. Her son's watching her, rooting her on. She is quite a character. And then this is where things got ugly. All right, so Lucas Alexander gets caught with the street fight right hook from Jekka Saraghi. Absolutely horrendous fight IQ from Lucas Alexander. Looked good early on with the calf kicks, and it was looking like he would have got the better of those striking exchanges, but why even play that game? He couldn't stick to a game plan, which should have obviously been to eventually close the distance and clinch up with Jekka and test that takedown defense, which has looked horrendous, especially in his last fight, right? So Lucas Alexander deserved to get knocked out. I had him mixed up in my two-team parlay. Of course, the other leg cashed easily, which we'll get to later. But I am very upset because the other two legs that I was debating on throwing in were the next two fights we're going to talk about. But I went with Lucas Alexander, which was definitely a mistake because he's not completely proven. But it was just so much of a fade on Jekka. That's where the issue, that's why I zoomed in on this fight, or I narrowed in on this fight. I was really fading Jekka here, and that was obviously a mistake. It was a 5-unit parlay that I caught together right around minus 142 or whatnot. Doesn't matter. Didn't cash. I should have stuck with my initial gut to maybe pick Mick Parkin, but I really was actually going to pick CLD. We'll talk about that next. But Parkin, he pretty much controls the fight against Chao Machado. Machado had a couple spots where he looked okay, but Parkin is a good fighter. We'll see what's next for him. It wasn't an overwhelming performance, to say the least. CLD, his performance was phenomenal. Gets another finish in the octagon against Dennis Teolinen, who took the fight on short notice. But again, we see the pinpoint accuracy and the sharp striking skills by CLD. That should have been the other leg, and that would have made it another profitable night. But shoulda, woulda, coulda. We take the L there on the big play of the night. We have one more play coming your guys' way. Not this one here, but Jose Johnson gets that rear naked choke over Chad Enhelinger. I think that we saw that Johnson still does have holes in his game, and certain fighters will definitely capitalize against him down in the mat. Chad had opportunities where he was on top, but he was just so undersized that Johnson would just get out of those positions. He would scramble out. He was just so much larger. It's almost like when you're watching Derek Lewis on bottom and these guys can't control him. It was a similar type of fight there. Chad is old, and he had his moments in the fight, but eventually broke down, and hats off to Chad. Probably the last time we see him in the cage. And then we had Joe Anderson Brito pulling off that ninja choke on Jonathan Pierce. This was a fight I almost had an official play in Jonathan Pierce. I'm glad I stayed away from it, even though he was in control of this fight, and he was on his way to going to the third round, being up on the judges' scorecards 2-0, and but eventually gets caught in that ninja choke. It was a nasty sub by Brito. And I thought, if anything, Brito would have been more of a threat with the striking, but pulls off that choke there. And Pierce has to go back to the drawing board. His grappling is his bread and butter, and made a defensive miscue getting that snatched up there. And that choke was locked in tight, and it was deep, man. All right, and then we had, speaking of submissions, how about the UFC newcomer who took the fight on short notice? Orlbai gets the neck crank submission over Uros Medic, just going straight to the grappling and just dominating Medic there. And Medic didn't have any time to showcase his striking. This newcomer looks good. We saw a lot of the memes and whatnot. It's funny, everybody was thinking the same thing I was thinking. Imagine what he could do if, once he discovers fire. Once he discovers fire, he's going to be an absolute stud. So you saw a lot of funny stuff online in regards to his character, but he seems like a great addition to the octagon. And then we had Amanda Ribas, another play that I should have went in on, but I hesitated, which I was worried a little bit defensively that Luana could have landed, but Ribas was the way to go for sure. You guys know I picked her here, and Ribas was just a way more of the pro, right? Going into this fight, way more proven and can do so many things good. How about that finish that she landed there? Excited to see what's next for her. Peyton Talbot drops that first round and then finishes very strongly, breaks Nick Aguirre. Imagine that Peyton's looking at him across the cage going into the third round, and he's doing the signal that he's about to break you, and Nick Aguirre comes out and hugs him. That was lame. I don't know why fighters are. That's just not a good look. It seems like Nick definitely knew it was about to happen, but at least go out on your shield, flip him the bird off or something before you get finished. I didn't like that. And then this was the other play. It was just a small two-to play. Caught it at plus 180. Targeted Jordan Levitt here. I thought there was some value on this line. We saw him land that big shot on Chase Hooper, but what happened is what I was worried about, what may happen, which was eventually the fight plays out on the ground long enough where Hooper was the superior grappler, and that's what happened. Sunk that rear naked choke on early. A little reminiscent to something we saw against Paddy Pimblett in regards to Levitt. So that was frustrating. I had Michael Morales as my other leg with that parlay that we talked about, with the other leg losing on Lucas Alexander, in complete control of the fight. And, he did his thing there. Michael Morales, we're going to do some matchmaking with these top two fights. I want to see Michael Morales take on, there's two fighters that really stand out to me. I would like to see him versus maybe Jack Della Maddalena moving forward. That'd be a great fight. Two very sharp strikers. Or I would like to see him take on Ian Gary, but Ian Gary's already taken on Vicente Luque. The other fight that I like is Kevin Holland. I know Holland's coming off a loss to Jack Della Maddalena, but Holland, always a big name, and I wouldn't mind to see Holland take that L there either, because you guys know me and Holland got a lot of beef. So that's what I'm thinking there. Morales is a stud, crazy frame for the division. He has a very promising career ahead of him, extremely young. And then Brendan Allen. Go check out my IG. I just did a post here. I think Brendan Allen should be facing off with Khamzat Chimaev next, as Khamzat seems to be settling in the middleweight division. He has the big name. He wants to fight for the gold. Brendan Allen now on a 6-fight winning streak. You take a look at his UFC record, 11-2. He is definitely worthy of fighting a guy like Khamzat Chimaev. And honestly, all that hype that we had on Khamzat back in the day, I think I'm edging Brendan Allen. How about that? I think Brendan Allen in a 5-round fight takes out Khamzat Chimaev. All right, so Brendan Allen, man, he's the truth, man. This guy's serious. Breaks Paul Craig, submits him in the third round. He's out here finishing everybody. For the most part, 11 UFC victories, where he finished 8 of them. Okay, 8 of his 11 victories, right? That's impressive, man. Right, you're talking about a guy that's finished 73% of his victories. He's a stud. He's super well-rounded. 27 years old. That's even more crazy when you think about that. I want to see a next Khamzat next. If not Khamzat, you got big names like Jared Cannonier and maybe Robert Whitaker, but he deserves basically a title elimination type of fight. So tell me if you guys agree with me there. And also let me know, what plays did you guys target? I want to know what plays you guys targeted. And you guys can also comment and talk some crap about the plays that I targeted. I'm sure we'll hear it from some of you guys. Hindsight's always 20/20. I like my spots going into the card, and it doesn't always play out well. All in all, you guys know we've been killing it for this more than the last quarter of this year. So I think we had a lot of units to play with, and we will bounce back. And as you guys know, we already have UFC Austin uploaded here in the channel, so it's going to be a huge night this upcoming weekend. A great rebound card. If you want to work with me, shoot me an email or DM me on Twitter or Instagram. I hope you guys enjoyed this event here. Signing out, Teller.
Welcome to the show. This is the MMA fortune teller. Yeah.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller.